Has FAU somersaulted over a lot of other teams as like your most aggravating fan base?
Oh, easily. They just think they are so elite because they made this one run. You won this one fluky ass game where there were 6 or 7 different calls. Everyone were up in arms about, like, what are we talking about? And it's not like a thing where they're like, hey, Memphis, great game. You guys are great competitors. I can't wait to see what the future holds between us. Because if they said that, I would respect them. I don't respect FAU fans. I don't.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Choosing the right sports betting platform can be tricky, as most mobile sports betting apps come with limited betting options and customization, delayed cash out and withdrawal times, and tedious customer support, and no true loyalty program with continuous rewards even after signing up. All of this leads to a frustrating, one-sided experience. So, how do you find the one which suits you best? Introducing Zensports. It combines the best of both worlds, a traditional sports book and a cutting-edge peer-to-peer marketplace. Zensports allows you to accept bets against the house, or use our peer-to-peer marketplace to create your own one-of-a-kind bet and set your own odds without the need for a bookmaker. At Zensports, you get more betting options and a cashback rewards through our unique welcome bonus, continuous loyalty program every month, and referral rewards delivered directly into your account. So what are you waiting for? Download the Zensports app today at zensports.com.
Welcome to Bluff City Bets, a Bluff City Media podcast. Join Daniel Greer and Chase Bobbitt as they give their plays of the day and strategies for success as a sports bettor. Now, let's get to the show.
Welcome to Bluff City Bets. My name is Mark. I am not Daniel, the normal guy you'll see on Friday. Don't worry, Daniel's got a show coming out today as well. I'm kind of like the pseudo third member of the team for Bluff City Bets. If you're in our Discord, you know who I am. You'll see the bets we put out there. You probably interact with me. But we're bringing you a brand new show for Bluff City Bets. We're bringing you the daily fantasy football show for Bluff City Bets. This show will normally release on Thursdays of every week, but we had a little bit of a recording hiccup yesterday, so we're listening to today. So you should have two shows today from Bluff City Bets. You have this show, the Daily Fantasy Football Show with me, as well as the regular betting show from Daniel on Friday. So if you haven't checked out his show, go do that now. So this a little bit of explainer of what this show is going to look like or what it's going to be like. It's going to be all daily fantasy football. So if you're playing football, fantasy football in any capacity, this is going to be the show for you. We're going to talk about quarterbacks that we like every week. We're going to talk about running backs that we like every week. We're going to talk about wide receivers we like every week. At the very end, we'll talk about a little bit of tight ends and defenses. I feel like those, for the most part, don't really change unless we have injury news. Defenses generally stay the same throughout the year. But as these first few weeks, this is kind of the learning phase of the NFL. We kind of figure out who's who over the first 3 or 4 weeks of the NFL season. And then after that, we kind of know what we're going to get every single time I go out there. So keep that in mind. So we're going to talk about in every segment. We'll have 3 segments. We'll have quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers for our main segments. And we'll talk about players we like every single week that are good value, either good value for the money, or just you can't, you have to start them. You can't not start them. Got to figure out a way to get them in your lineup. So these lineups, these player pools can be used for tournaments. This mainly for cash games. But if you're using for tournaments, be sure to go out there and look for people who are players that are not being used a lot. There are a lot of tools on the internet you can find, lineup optimizers and other tools from all kinds of people out there that give you an idea of the own percentage of players. So if you're in tournament lineups, take these player pools with a grain of salt. They're going to be good players in here, but you really, if you want to win big time tournaments, you have to find ways to be contrarian. You have to find ways to figure out who is not being played out there that other people that will score you points. So that's the fine line of tournaments. You got to figure out a way to fit players in there that makes sense. They're going to score you points, but also not being used by a lot of people. So just keep that in mind as we go through all the player pools here today. But before we start, I want to remind everybody, obviously, Bluff City Bets, if you've seen any of our shows before, you know that we're presented by Zensports. So make sure you go check them out. It's a premium sports book app, and it is right here in Tennessee, and they are amazing people to work with. They've been great sponsors and great partners for us this entire time. So go download their app, use our code BLUFFC so they know we sent you, BLUFFC, so they know we sent you, and you can get it 5% cash back for the first 15 days and up to 3% cash back for the lifetime of your account. And that is an amazing, amazing offer. There is not another sports book out there doing rewards like that. It's absolute cash back. It's cash, whatever you want to do with it. You can put it in your pocket, take it out of your account. It is not rewards points like you see on other sports books. It's not rewards that you have to spend with them or bonus bets or anything like that. It is absolute guaranteed. It's just cash back. It's as easy as it gets. So make sure you go support our guys over at Zensports. Use our code BLUFFC, BLUFFC. Use our code when you download their app and sign up so they know that we sent you. Let's get into quarterbacks. Quarterbacks starting number one on our list is someone we never thought we would talk about so far this year, Baker Mayfield. It's doing stuff that I don't think anybody thought he was going to do. He has outscored his value in both of his first 2 weeks, a guy that has continued to just be good. And his price right now, let's see his price right now is, he's on a Monday game. Let me pull that up real quick. I had my stuff on Sunday games only. His price right now, $6,900. An amazing price. Like absolutely really good price for someone who, quite frankly, has been one of the only quarterbacks out there that is continuing to outscore his projection every single week so far. I mean, it's only 2 weeks, so take that with a grain of salt. But continuing to outscore his projection, and that is what is important. Playing Philadelphia at home, and I think that Philly defense is really, really bad as a pass defense. So I think there's a lot of factors in play for Baker Mayfield. And I don't think and he's popular. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be out there using Baker Mayfield. So maybe that's a guy you get into the tournament lineups, again, that can save you value on another position. And we'll talk about that going forward when we talk about running backs. But that's what's important right there, is finding kind of guys you think are good that can continue to provide you value going forward at a position where I think points, I don't want to say points are built in for quarterbacks, but points are built in. I mean, they got the ball in their hand the most. They're continually passing the ball. So, yes, they have the most opportunity to score points. So if you could take someone like Baker Mayfield at $6,900, and I think he has the opportunity to score you points, that's a win right there. Next up on our list is Lamar Jackson. It just really, really good at football. I don't know how else to say that other than he's just really good. $8,200 so far, right now, $8,200 on FanDuel. And again, by the way, all these prices are on FanDuel. That's what we're playing at. All these prices are on FanDuel. So $8,200 for Lamar Jackson going against the Colts defense at home. Very, very soft defense, especially at home in the passing game. They're very, very soft. So he's got some opportunity to have some really, really good stacks as well. Zay Flowers, we'll talk about him against wide receivers. Odell looks pretty good. We'll talk about him as well. But they are going to have to throw the football, and Lamar Jackson's very good. You put Lamar Jackson in there at home is going to be extremely good passing the football. I think he outscores his value. Projected points right now are, let's see, his projected points, 19 points are his projected points. That right there, I think he gets that, if not more, than his projected points. Last week it was 17 projected. He had 22. And I think that's really, really good. The last week he had 2 touchdowns, 237 yards on the road against Cincinnati. So extremely good right there. Next quarterback I want to talk about, everybody's favorite, Tua. I mean, he is playing like lights out right now. Again, Tua as well as Lamar, both high-priced guys, 81 and 82. Not the highest on our list, but they are not going to be the cheapest price guys by any stretch of the imagination. They're not going to be the Baker Mayfield. So I'm trying to include some guys that are kind of run the range of pricing, but Tua and Lamar both priced pretty good. Tua playing really, really good football. He is at home week against Denver. Denver's got a really, really shitty pass defense as well. He has played against he's going against a really bad defense. So his last week wasn't a great week for him. But I think that somebody's going to bounce back. And I say a great week. He still had 249 yards and a touchdown. But that interception really sucked. He has an interception both first 2 weeks, one in the first week, one in the second week. But that first week had 3 touchdowns, 28 points. He was 7,700 the first week, jumped up to 8,100, has stayed there for this week as well. So right now he's projected to have 20 points, 21 points. I think he gets that. I think he gets that this week against the Broncos. Last quarterback we want to talk about, and we'll give some notable mentions as well, but Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a guy that I think has so many weapons around him. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's great by any stretch of imagination, but I do think he's good. And I think he's got people around him that make it even better. You got Justin Jefferson there. KJ Osborne has been really good so far this year as well. I think that Kirk Cousins has people that elevate him more than our average quarterback. He is right now 7,800, projected to have 23 points this week. He's had 44 pass attempts in each of the first 2 games. 44. He's thrown the ball 44 times. So they're absolutely slinging the ball around in Minnesota, and you can stack him with a couple different players. We'll talk about those guys when we get to the wide receivers, but Justin Jefferson is a guy that, without mention, is going to be in your lineups, and you stack him with Kirk Cousins. I think you have an absolutely excellent stacking to start with, and you can kind of look at that game. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and you can kind of stack that whole game and see what you can get in some serious cash games. So Kirk Cousins is another guy to look at for this week. Notable mentions, I think that Gardner Minshew, if you look at it, if Richardson doesn't play, and I think that's really important right now because he's still hurt or he might not play. If Richardson doesn't play, Gardner Minshew will be cheap. I mean, I don't even have his number here on me. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Let's see, quarterback 2s. His number, I don't even think he right now is listed. But just know, if Richardson doesn't play, Gardner Minshew would be a great tournament play. And that's one of those things I like to look at, is those last-minute tournament plays. If you have a guy, a big-time quarterback who goes down or has a last-minute health scratch, if he just not healthy enough to play, last-minute scratch on Sunday mornings, whatever the backup is, especially if it's a decent offense and they pass a lot, whatever the backup is, get him in your lineup. Just throw a lineup out there, put him in your lineup, because the odds are you're going to be one of the few people who probably play him, because who's playing Gardner Minshew anyway? Like, no one's playing that guy. But if Richardson doesn't play, that's somebody I think you could seriously get a lot of points and collect points that other people aren't getting because they just simply aren't playing them. So look at Gardner Minshew if Richardson doesn't play. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side, talk about running backs up next.
What's a common criticism that people say about Paul Young, or something negative they may say, and what do you have to say in response to that?
They say too young, if they're from the older generation, and the response is, well, line us up and ask us any question. I'm not that young. I'm 43. Right. I'm a grown man. It's been working for the last 20 years.
I feel old. We the same age.
Yeah, we old, man.
Right.
We old now. Certainly there are those that love to throw this card saying that I'm a Republican, which they know I'm not. We too focused on stuff that don't matter.
Right.
Because none of that matters. I'm a Democrat, and I lead with that. But at the end of the day, Democrats been in office, Republicans been in office. When I go to the hood, the result is the same. So what we talking about? Like, who's going to get the job done for Memphis? Yeah. Those are the things that I think we need to be talking about. But, it's a distraction that people use because they feel this momentum and energy, and they want to figure out how to stop it.
Man, I feel you 100 on this.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking about running backs coming up right now. But before we do running backs, I want to make sure that you guys all know that we are running a FanDuel fantasy league with myself, Daniel. It is a promotion you can beat the better. So if you haven't seen it going around, make sure you go check out our Twitter, Bluff City Media Twitter, or Bluff City Bets Twitter, wherever you look at it at. The link is there. The link there will be there throughout the weekend on Sunday as well. We have as many people as we want in that league, and you can win real money. I won last weekend because obvious reasons. I think Daniel won the first week, so week 3 we'll see who wins. But it is a promotion runner, Beat the Betters. It's like a $5 entry on FanDuel. It is a daily fantasy league, so it's just one day, and I'm giving you all the players that I'm playing with right now. So you should have every opportunity to beat myself or Daniel for some bragging rights, and it's just fun to do and win some real money. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. We'll tweet that out. Make sure you get the link. It's Beat the Betters. We're playing on FanDuel. Would love to see you there. Let's start in running backs. Coming up, Tony Pollard, $9,400. Before we get into running backs here's what I want to say about running backs this year already, as in every year, is that they're all getting hurt all the time. Every week it's like, hey, who's hurt this week and who do I have to pick up to make that work for the week going forward? So I think that running back especially is a position where you're going to just most likely going to have to pay up, right? Like you really have to pay attention to that position because you're either going to have to pay up or you're going to have to really pay attention to the injuries coming up. So I think that's the most important. But Tony Pollard is a guy you have to pay up for. It's $9,400 on FanDuel, but he's one of the most consistent people so far this year. He's the best running back so far this year. And so I think that's somebody that you have to get in your lineup going against, especially on the road against Arizona. Terrible rushing defense. Has the third most rushing attempts so far of anybody in the league this year. Tony Pollard's the third most attempts. So they are literally just feeding him the ball all the time. So you couple that going against a soft defense in Arizona, I think you have the makings for a really, really good day. I mean, he's projected 21 points right now, which is high for a running back. I think that's extremely high, but I also think it's important to understand that he's a guy that's just going to get the carries. And that's part of it when you're looking at the running back position, you have to find guys who are just getting the opportunities. So there's so many teams right now are splitting the carries up for running backs because you see the injuries and you see them pile up week after week. And so many teams out there are going to a split back position or just doling out the carries against 2, maybe even 3 backs. And so it's hard to tell where the touchdowns are going to come from. So you have someone like Tony Pollard, who is literally the workhorse for this team. You have to pay up and figure out a way to get in your lineups. And that's paying up at the running back position, maybe, and there's a lot of people, maybe, again, like you talked about Baker Mayfield coming down at the quarterback position. We'll talk about wide receivers here in a minute, and maybe that is going down and paying less money for a different wide receiver. So running backs at just a position I think is very, as always, every year it happens, very scarce. So Tony Pollard's my number one guy this week alongside Derrick Henry. We'll talk about workhorses. Derrick Henry has been like that for a long time. The only thing I'm worried about is the offensive line for the Titans. They have been, inconsistent, all over the place, kind of shitty for this team so far this year. That's coming from a Titans fan, but I think that Derrick Henry is just that good. I think that's how good Derrick Henry is. Now, I will keep in mind though, he has been hurt this week. He didn't practice yesterday. So I don't know if he's practiced today. I haven't seen it come out yet. It hasn't. So I don't know if he's practiced today, like a toe injury or something. So again, that's the caveat with Derrick Henry. Make sure he plays. And if he doesn't, figure out who the backup is. But Derrick Henry is a guy. Actually, if he's a guy, if he doesn't play, don't play the backup. Whoever that is, just don't play him, because the offensive line for the Titans is so crappy that I don't trust whoever the backup is to be good enough to get actual points. Derrick Henry is good enough to be good behind a bad offensive line. If they were a decent offensive line, I think they'd be even better. And so I know they've had some injuries at that line as well, but Derrick Henry's a guy that you got to figure out a way to get in your lineups as well. Projected 16 points this week. I feel good about that going against Cleveland. They have a pretty soft inside and interior rush defense, so I feel good about that. So Derrick Henry is my number 2 guy on my list. Going next is our favorite, Bijan Robinson. He is a guy that is been electric so far this year. Really, really fun to watch. And decently priced, $7,500 for Bijan Robinson. No, excuse me, sorry. That's $9,000 for Bijan Robinson. Not priced well at all. Had my numbers backwards. I think that's probably for Brian Robinson. That $7,500. Yeah, that's for Brian Robinson. But Bijan, Same thing. I know it's the same story out there every time we talk about it, but he's 9,000. He's probably one of the most the highest priced running back this week. He is, second most. He's second most behind Tony Pollard. So he's also a guy you got to figure out a way to get in your lineups. There's just not a whole lot of other options out there going into this week that you provide somebody with decent carries and opportunities, but also against a defense that they can run against too, or they can run on. So Bijan's a guy that can just make stuff happen. So get him in your lineups. Next guy for me is Kenneth Walker. He actually is a decently priced guy, 7,600. I think that he's a very boomer bust though, but I feel confident in his ability this week going against Carolina Panthers. They are middle of the road interior defense. Are 18th right now against the run. I feel like, again, week 3, those rankings against defense, like if you will, the defense's first position kind of stat line can be skewed because I think people are still trying to figure out what they are, and then the data is just not all there. But I think that Kenneth Walker is a guy who is good. He's getting the carries, and I think that he can do something against this Carolina defense, and he's actually decently priced. 7,600 is pretty good for a running back that's going to have the ball. So some other guys that you should need to look out for going into the weekend, if people are hurt, people like Jamar Gibbs, A.J. Dillon, Joshua Kelly. Right now, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, all those guys are currently either going through some type of injury, didn't practice yesterday, not sure if they practiced today, but those are the guys to look for. If you, on Sunday morning, if they don't play, then you can start talking about guys like A.J. Dillon. I know A.J. Dillon was bad last week. He was bad because I played him in a lot of lineups, and he was not good. But it's not a guy you should go away from. He is a very good running back, very good at what he does. Same thing for Joshua Kelly. Was not good last week at all. I played him in lineups some too. But if Austin Eckler is out, Joshua Kelly is a guy that just the offense is just there. They are always going to Austin Eckler. How they use Austin Eckler is how they will essentially try to use Joshua Kelly the same way. So keep that in mind. A lot of run back injuries right now. A lot of injuries out there right now for guys who, again, just either didn't practice. A lot of RB1s that are just going through the motions or either banged up already in this season, and it's only week 2. And so I'm looking at this list, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 RB1s who are the listed number 1 running back on the depth chart for their teams. 8 already. Going into week 3 that are going through some type of injury. That doesn't count the injuries that we've lost already to guys like Nick Chubb and other guys that are just out for the season. That doesn't even count those. So 8 guys I'm looking at just right now that are going to be game time decisions going into Sunday. So keep that in mind. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. We'll talk about wide receivers on the way back.
Choosing the right sports betting platform can be tricky, as most mobile sports betting apps come with limited betting options and customization, delayed cash out and withdrawal times, and tedious customer support, and no true loyalty program with continuous rewards even after signing up. All of this leads to a frustrating, one-sided experience. So, how do you find the one which suits you best? Introducing Zensports. It combines the best of both worlds, a traditional sports book and a cutting-edge peer-to-peer marketplace. Zensports allows you to accept bets against the house, or use our peer-to-peer marketplace to create your own one-of-a-kind bet and set your own odds without the need for a bookmaker. At Zensports, you get more betting options and a cashback rewards through our unique welcome bonus, continuous loyalty program every month, and referral rewards delivered directly into your account. So what are you waiting for? Download the Zensports app today at zensports.com.
Welcome back to the show. Again, we are Bluff City Bets Daily Fantasy Football, going to be releasing on Thursdays. This point forward, we're here to talk about all the players you should get in your player pool every single week. The way I do it is I take a look at all the weeks, all the players are going to be played from every position, Make a list of about 4, 5, depending on position. Sometimes more. Wide receivers is always going to be more because there are more positions on that. Make a player pool, and that's what I use. I don't use anybody else. I make my lineups from those particular players and don't really stray away from that player pool unless there are injuries or things that come out on Saturday or Sunday morning that I think I need to hop on and try to get in the mix, in which we will let everybody know. So the player pool we're presenting today is what we have as of Friday. This might change till Sunday morning, so keep going to the Twitter, our at Bluff City Bets or at Bluff City Media, at Bluff City _media. Check our Twitter accounts. We'll post those every Sunday morning. But more importantly, hop in our Discord. And that's where we talk about that's where we talk about daily fantasy football all the time. That's where we talk about all of our standard bets. So make sure you hop in our Discord. If you want access to it, just hit us on a DM on Bluff City Bets on our Twitter, and we'll get you access to our Discord going forward. But before we end, make sure you guys go to Zensports, download the app Zensports, use our code BLUFFC, BLUFFC, to make sure they know that we sent you, make sure they know that you guys are supporting us while we're supporting them, because they have been great sponsors for us so far. You make sure you sign up. It's a sports book that is doing things like nobody else. They are offering 5% cash back on the first 15 days on your betting volume, unlimited betting volume. So as much as you want to bet in the first 15 days, 5% cash back and up to 3% cash back going forward forever. You can also earn commission on people you refer to to Zensports as well with your own referral code. So it is like a win-win-win over there at Zensports. Make sure you go there, sign up, use our code BLUFFC, BULFFC, to make sure they know that we sent you. So let's get into our wide receivers, and we'll start with our first wide receiver one, Justin Jefferson. I feel like that's a no-brainer. We talked about it earlier with Kirk Cousins. He's a stack you want to get with Kirk Cousins, and it's an absolute no-brainer. He's the best player. He's the best wide receiver in all of football. If you're not getting in your lineup, you're losing points. He's $9,700. I know that's a lot. I know it's a lot, but figure out a way to get him in your lineups. This goes back to what we talked about earlier. If you got to use, you want to stack him with Kirk Cousins, who is a guy that doesn't really cost you that much, but you can either spend up at Justin Jefferson. You're looking at defenses here in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute, where you can get a cheap defense, cheap tight ends, but figure out a way to get Justin. There's not much here to say about Justin Jefferson other than that he's awesome at football. Get him in your lineup. Zay Flowers is our next guy on the list. He is a guy that has been really good this year. A rookie. He's on one of my dynasty leagues. Been really, really impressed with him so far. I moved him off our practice squad and into our regular squad like after the first week, and got to play him. And he's still only right now $6,300 on FanDuel. So that right there is like an extremely good value for someone you can stack with Lamar Jackson. He's someone that is going to go against a really soft Colts passing defense. So he's got some really explosive upside. He catches really, really long balls. He's like a Devonta Smith as well. So that guy has exceeded his value. Zay Flowers has exceeded his value in terms of price per point every week so far this week. I get it. It's only 2 weeks. We're only going to week 3, but he's a guy that you can A, save money on, and B, expect points out of that position. So make sure you put Zay Flowers in your lineup, stack him with Kirk Cousins, stack him with Lamar Jackson, and he'll provide you some value in that as well. Amari Cooper's our next guy, $6,200. He is hurt, or he was hurt last week. From what I understand, he played through it, and he's expected to play again this week, as far as I have seen. So caveat, just like we talked about with every position, check on Sunday morning, see what you get. But he's a guy that's going against a great Titans run defense. So the Titans defense has been great on the run. Terrible on the pass. Not terrible. Mediocre on the pass. So Amari Cooper, they're gonna have to figure out a way to throw the ball. I get the quarterback he has is how shall we say, have been poo-poo, have been garbage, been shitty. But I think they're going to have to figure out a way to throw the ball. And throwing the ball to Amari Cooper is our only real answer right now, I think. $6,200, get him in your lineups. I think he's a must start right now for us. Next person we have up going on the list, next wide receiver, DK Metcalf. Same caveat, has been hurt. Let's see what the status is for DK Metcalf. Didn't practice yesterday again. So he is a guy that's, again, got to check on Sunday morning. If he plays, He's been mediocre last week. He was okay last week. He had 10 points last week, 6 catches for 75 yards. First week, he only had 47 yards, but he had a touchdown to save him, get him 12 points. They are going against the worst pass defense right now. Right now, as it stands, the worst pass defense against wide receiver ones. That's who he's playing against this week. So I think he's got the opportunity to get back on the right side of the points, get back on the right side of what he's doing in terms of just touchdowns. I think he scores this week for sure, but also has quite a bit of yards. I think he goes over 100 yards for us. $7,400, extremely affordable to get in your lineups. Again, Justin Jefferson, 9,700. DK Metcalf, if he plays, 7,400. I think he's right in there to get you an extra wide receiver that could be really valuable. And if he's a guy that people are staying away from because of those first 2 weeks or because of his injury, maybe you get some tournament option there in terms of usage percentage too. So next person we have is a guy that I love, Stefon Diggs, one of my favorite players. I didn't list Josh Allen as a quarterback, but if you want to stack Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs, please do. Josh Allen is a guy that can be a little interception friendly. He loves to throw the interception sometimes. So, but I think if you catch him on a good day, him and Stefon Diggs can just be. I mean, they'll be crazy. Going against Washington this week at Washington. Pretty low end right now against the pass in terms of their defense versus the passing game. So Stefon Diggs, $8,000. So him with Josh Allen stacked had a huge week one. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure everybody remembers that. Didn't really have anything last week. Only had 66 yards. So I don't think people are going to shy away from Stefon Diggs because again, he's like Justin Jefferson. He's just good. But the Bills are throwing the ball 39 times per game, and he already has 20 of those targets. So think about that right there. He's got 20 targets already this year, and so 10 targets per game, 10 plus targets per game. I'll take that all day long with Stefon Diggs. Last person on my list, then some honorable mentions, Chris Olave. Fantastic player in New Orleans. Another guy in my Dynasty League. I love him. $7,800. A really, really good price for someone like Chris Olave, who's going against Green Bay, at Green Bay. Decent against the passing, not great, but not bad either. I think they're 19. So bottom third of the league against pass defense. He is a guy who is top 10 in targets. He is 5th in the league right now at targets. Chris Olave is, and has been sensational in pretty much every game he has. So I think that he's also a guy like Zay Flowers who has outscored his projection per price point every game. So you think about how much you pay versus how many points you're going to get in return for that person. His value has exceeded that every game this year so far. Again, I know it's only week 2. We're in week 3. Those stats can be a little skewed, but I think Chris Olave is a guy who's very consistent and is a guy who can really, really catch the ball just whenever it's around him. I mean, you don't have to, he's one of those guys like Odell. You just got to get it in the range and he'll catch it. So some notable mentions are Keenan Allen. I think you can never go wrong with Keenan Allen. Nico Collins would be really good in these lineups as well. $6,900, someone who is probably undervalued there at $6,900. And so if you need someone on the cheaper end to fill a spot, if you're trying to get Justin Jefferson in and as well as some other wide receivers in, Nico Collins might be a guy for you. So let's talk about tight ends and defenses, and then we'll get out of here and you guys can make sure you get those lineups together. So tight ends and defense, I'll go through this really quick. Tight ends I like, Gerald Everett, TJ Hockenson, Evan Engram, and Sam Laporta. Gerald Everett, Sam Laporta, been okay, mediocre. So they're lower price. They're going to be guys, if you need value at the tight end position, that's where you want to get them from. Those two guys are going to be good value per price point. TJ Hockenson, Evan Engram, they're going to be a higher priced tight end. So if you want to go tight end heavy or tight end stack with TJ Hockenson and Evan Engram, those are the guys I'd look for in terms of the higher value tight ends this week, or who we feel we might have the best week in terms of points. But you also got to pay for them. So that's always in daily fantasy. That's always the caveat. Is yes, they're going to have great players, but you always have to pay for them too. So are you going to get that value back is the real question. Lastly, defense, Cowboys. If you can afford the Cowboys, just do it because they have been a point printing machine. They've been the best defense so far by a mile in the NFL so far. If you need a good cheap price, go with the Jets. Jets are not going to be a bad option. I know they had a bad they were awful last week, but they are a good defense. And so go with the Jets if you need a option that is a little less pricier than the Cowboys, or if you need to fit something in, if you're looking to go higher in at the running back or wide receiver or even quarterback position, the Jets might be a good option for that. So I appreciate you guys joining in. Again, this is going to be a Thursday edition of Bluff City Bets. It's going to be daily fantasy football edition every week going forward. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, check out our player pool drops on Sunday morning. Make sure you go support Zensports and make sure you go use our code BluffC, sign up for Zensports. And lastly, make sure you sign up for our FanDuel Beat the Betters tournament on Sunday. Try to beat me and Daniel. $5 entry. If you win real money. It's fantastic. It's a fun time. And if you want to join our Discord, do that as well. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Bluff City Bets. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next week.
It's hard to poke a hole in this roster. I mean, it's weird saying that in August, but just looking at the spread of it, the way it's worked out and come together, and what the staff has done, once again, flowers are deserved.
Isn't it like if you're poking a hole, it's all kind of more abstract thoughts.
Absolutely.
Like how are they going to gel? If you're just talking roles, they have every role filled.
Yep, we won't know that for months.
Yeah.
So instead of harping on that, like some people are going to get fired up about that now. Like just looking at what's built and where this could potentially go is pretty cool.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
A show over in New Zealand, radio host had Pete Pranica, of all people, on his show. And the guy was saying that a friend of his who's close to Steven Adams said that the Grizzlies kind of mishandled something with his surgery, that he needed surgery the whole time. They said that he didn't. They prolonged it, and then he actually got surgery, and now he's rehabbing from that.
Yeah, they use the word misdiagnosed.
Yeah, that's a strong word. The Grizzlies don't give clear information about stuff, and it leaves room for interpretation.
Right.
And my interpretation is that this story sounds real. Now, I'm not saying this story is true, but it's true-ish. That sounds more realistic than anything the Grizzlies were saying.
When you leave things up for speculation,
hey, that's what happens. Guys like me just put
guys
two
like
and
that
two
New
together.
Zealand radio guy.
New Zealand radio dude. They come out and say, hey,
and I know
my partner said Steven Adams was way more messed up than y'all thought he was.
And not only that,
yeah,
y'all misdiagnosed that man.
Misdiagnosed. Strong words, man. Woo. Strong words.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.